MMA rants and raves. The question: is MMA and the UFC too violent? Now, you know something? This question has come up a lot, and to tell you the truth, I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing it, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it is a combat sport, and there's always risks involved, and things are going to happen, things might happen, but you have to compare it to other sports. You have to compare it to other violent, high-impact sports, and then ask the question if this is too violent of a sport. That's the best way to evaluate it. That's the best way to finally put this question to rest. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's look at the other two sports that we can compare this to, which are definitely more violent. Number one, boxing. That's right, boxing. Since boxing has been licensed by the state's athletic commissions, there have been 36 deaths, not including all the many injuries that have resulted, the punch-drunk boxers that have resulted from long careers in the ring. The best example, of course, which you may know, Muhammad Ali, who has Parkinson's, they attribute it to too many blows to the head. So, obviously, with 36 deaths in this type of sport, and many have had serious injuries, this is obviously the most dangerous sport, which is licensed in every state and licensed in just about everywhere in the world. The next sport that I'm going to look at here is professional football. Professional football, there have been about 4 deaths in professional football. In the NFL, 4 deaths have happened. So there you go. 4 deaths have happened, and in boxing you have 36 deaths. So in these two sports, deaths have happened, and even in other sports which are not considered dangerous, things like this happen, but these things happen because of the nature of the sport itself. And then we also have to consider the many serious injuries that have happened in pro football. I mean, one thing comes to mind. Growing up watching football, I saw Dennis Bird, live, when he was injured, when he had that terrible spinal injury and he couldn't even move on the field, and he was paralyzed. Then they had that Detroit Lions player a few years ago that was paralyzed on the field. So a lot of dangerous injuries, a lot of serious injuries have resulted from this sport. And now let's get back to MMA. MMA basically has been licensed and has been considered a sport for about the past 9 years. And since then, we must have had at least, thousands of fights have occurred. And in those thousands of fights, no serious injury or death has occurred. Now, what does this tell you? It tells you this: the sport is licensed by the state's athletic commissions, by some states' athletic commissions. Some haven't licensed it yet, and that means that they have the same refs and the same judges as professional boxing does. Now, if you look at an MMA fight, if you have never watched one, I suggest that you do. You'll notice that there's no eye techniques allowed. You can't hit in the groin below the belt. You're not allowed to even knee an opponent when he's down. And if you do, you can get disqualified. They take it very seriously. They know it's a combat sport and serious injury can result, and you can lose the fight. Now, this is a very interesting point. I want you to listen very closely. If you notice in the NFL, for example, how many times do you see late hits? How many times do you see a lineman with a helmet first hit against a quarterback, which can take a quarterback's head off? It happens all the time. The late hits happen almost every game. Those are dangerous. You have guys over 300 pounds, these are super athletes, coming at you at high speed. It's like getting hit by a sledgehammer. Those helmets, they're made of metal. They have face masks. It's not like the old days where they were made of leather. It doesn't matter how much padding you're wearing or anything. When you get hit that hard, it's really dangerous. Many of these guys, their helmets fly off their head because they're hit so hard. And you could just hear people cheering. It's like an essential part of the sport. So, and the point being is that what happens when a guy does that? He gets they may get an unnecessary roughness call. They'll lose 15 yards, or maybe worse, he'll get ejected for a game or something like that. But the team doesn't lose, does it? The team never loses. You can have a guy that comes at you at 100 miles an hour and trying to knock your head off in the NFL, and the guy could be dead. That team will not lose that game. But if you look at MMA, if somebody commits an illegal eye contact, or let's say he hits below the belt and he does it blatantly, let's say the ref sees, I mean, you could see, when the guy's doing it on purpose, he's going to get disqualified. So that, you have to understand something. When a fighter loses, it's like that's the team, because it's just one fighter. So a loss is his loss. You get it? In the NFL, if one of these guys commit a violation, which is far more dangerous, the team doesn't even lose. So these things constantly happen over and over again. There's more violent contact happening in professional football than there is MMA. And that's the bottom line. When you have a combat sport with rules, that there's no eye contacts, there's no hitting below the belt, there's no kicking in the groin or kneeing an opponent when he's down, the result is that there aren't any very serious injuries that are occurring. And here's something else to consider. In boxing, let's get back to boxing, there's only two ways to win. You have to knock a guy out, which can result in serious injury, or just two guys have to beat each other up, and then it's going to go to a judge's decision. So basically, two guys have to get hit in the head as much as possible, and the result is, at the end of these guys' careers, they're going to have serious injuries. They're going to have serious head injuries. But in MMA, I mean, you can have a fight where there isn't even a punch landed. It could just end in a submission where the guy puts his arm around his neck. We call it a rear naked choke. And basically, the guy just taps his finger because he can't get out of it, and the fight ends, and neither fighter has a scratch at the end of the fight. So in this particular sport, it's actually a lot safer. There's a lot of other ways to win besides people getting kicked in the head, punched in the face, like in boxing. And I say kicking, I mean kickboxing. That's another thing, and that's been licensed also. But there's more ways to win in this type of sport. There's all kinds of techniques that they use. There's submissions, and it's Muay Thai, it's clinching, dirty boxing. So there's a lot of ways to beat an opponent, but since there are other ways, especially since there are so many jiu-jitsu fighters, which means grappling, and guys getting submitted to the ground, that's a very safe way to end a fight, because there's no contact at all. There's no impact at all between kicking or punching. And many fights have ended this way. Statistically, a lot of fights have ended with submissions. So this sport can actually be pretty safe at times. So this should finally put this thing to rest. And now something else has to be addressed, that since it is a safer sport comparable to other sports, which are approved by all the states, then this sport should be approved without any argument. And that's just the way it is, guys. I mean, if you see it different, I'd love to hear from you. Leave those comments. Please subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.